Hi, and welcome to Philanthropy Porch Ponderings. I'm Lisa Shamola, coming to you from my porch here in New Orleans, Louisiana, on a bit of a rainy day, which was not expected. I knew it was going to rain today, but not this early in the morning, which fits right in with today's theme of planning when your plans change or when you feel that you don't have a strong plan forward. Before we jump in, a few quick reminders to like, subscribe, and share this YouTube channel. There is a bell icon down below. If you click that, you'll receive a reminder every time a video is uploaded. So let's talk about planning. Planning is so critical for nonprofit organizations. Our strategic plan sets the path forward for what the organization is going to accomplish and how it is going to make an impact in the community. We then build a development plan to raise the funds needed to accomplish that mission and how we are going to go about that. And a communication plan is needed. You have to share how people can help you achieve that mission, where they can contribute, how they can make an impact. Share those stories of people who are being generous and the impact of how that is changing the lives of those you serve. But whether you are seeking to make a plan for something in your professional or personal life, I'd like to offer you a few tips and resources that would be helpful. First, make decisions with the best information you have available to you at the time. This was by far the best piece of advice I received when going through therapy for my divorce many years ago. If you get hung up on what you don't know, you may not make a decision on what you do know. So consider everything that you know and make a path forward, knowing that it may have to change when you have new information, and that's okay. Great example from the global pandemic and the early days here in New Orleans when things were being shut down and people were being encouraged to stay home. Our organization had events scheduled. The best information we had at the time was to tell people that we had to postpone those events. We weren't sure when they were going to be, but we'd let them know as soon as we did. At that time, we thought we'd just be postponing these for maybe a few months, or plan B, maybe later in the year. The ultimate decision that none of us could have predicted at that time, first of all, I was laid off by the organization, so I wasn't even there to execute the ultimate actions. But they ended up having those events virtually much later in the year. But we wouldn't have known that, and if we would have gotten hung up on having to know all that information before we communicated, we wouldn't have had a plan and we wouldn't have been able to move forward. And that's another tool to remember. Take things one step at a time. What can you focus on that can be done today? Don't get overwhelmed about the entire process because you might be paralyzed into not being able to act. And so another tool is to prioritize what absolutely has to be done today to make a path forward. What would you like to get done today? What can possibly wait for another day? When I was a traveling gift officer, I read an article that encouraged people to not only form a daily to-do list, but a done list. Because how often do we have interrupted plans? Something pops up you have to deal with that's an emergency or an urgent situation, or you're just not able to accomplish a task because you don't have all the resources available to you. And it's easy to feel despair at the end of the day when your to-do list isn't complete. But if you can also reflect on your done list and adding the items that you didn't plan for, but that you did accomplish, you can feel a sense of pride in that you made an impact that day. I think it's also important that we all give ourselves a little grace. I know I am my worst critic. And when I don't accomplish something the way I hope to, or if it doesn't meet the plan, I might feel discouraged. But just remember, we're all doing the best we can with what we have right now. And finally, just to add, if you are making decisions and setting a plan forward in a group environment, whether it is at your workplace or within your family, you can disagree privately, but don't disagree publicly. My friends who are parents always say it's good to have a unified front for the children. And the same goes for your organization to your public audiences. You may disagree about what is ultimately decided on, but have a unified communication plan forward. it just makes you look so much more professional and polished. So to recap, those tips to help you navigate a plan during uncertain times: work with the best information you have available to you. Take things one step at a time. Prioritize. Give yourself a little grace. And if you're in a group situation, don't disagree publicly. Thank you again for tuning in. Remember, like, subscribe, and share the YouTube channel, and follow Philanthropy on all the social media channels. We dropped a email newsletter this week, and so if you didn't have a chance to sign up for that, drop me a comment below or follow social, as we'll be sharing the link in the coming days. And I hope that you have a wonderful week.